Hello, I'm Jacob. You're watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. Today, I want to talk about custom knives and why they are so expensive. This is going to be off the cuff. This is unprofessional. I'm not going to throw a bunch of crazy editing or anything else at you. This is just a simple explanation. Now, I am probably what you would consider a bit of a knife nut if you're not familiar with this channel. I don't know how it started. I don't know why it's gotten to this point, but I have a lot of production knives, and I have a good little number of custom knives as well. I have some custom knives that I think I could ask almost any price I wanted for and get within realistic limits. Because they're very sought after, and I have custom knives from some of the best makers around. And so I review knives and products all the time, production and custom. And when I review custom knives, every single video, you get people complaining about the price and saying that they're Gerber or Mora or Schrade or whatever else can do the same thing for 1/100th of the price. And so I'm not necessarily and entirely here to tell you that you're wrong, actually, which is what people I'm sure would expect. Custom knives are not for everyone, and a knife is not valuable because it's custom. There are so many custom makers that I would not pay more prices for because they're not good. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is the good stuff, why they're so expensive, and whether or not it's worth it. The first thing that I've got to explain is the rule of diminishing returns. So if you imagine that we have a scale here, and at the bottom is the cheapest and most junky flea market knife that you can buy, and at the top is the most premium and most expensive knife in the entire world that you can buy, this knife at the very top is probably going to be inlaid with gold and jewels and all kinds of other stuff. And so if what you want from your knife is to cut things, you're not getting anything extra really for your money as compared to something way further down on the list. You're paying for all of that embellishment. Okay, so the rule of diminishing returns means that between the cheapest crap 50-cent knife and the $500,000 super fancy knife, there is a point on this list where spending more money gets you less and less extra performance. And so if you are the average person that's not a knife person and you're into camping and adventure and survival, getting a premium custom knife from a known and respected knife maker when you don't even really care about knives, you just want to use it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay? But that doesn't mean that the Gerber, Mora, Schrade, or even Becker or whatever else, K-Bar, is worth the same amount. And worth is subjective. But let me explain this. Let's assume that you want a custom knife. So you're over here and you find just a second here. Okay. I love this production knife. This is a Hogue EX F01. I would personally consider this to be a premium production knife. Let's say that you want this knife, but you don't want this finger hump here, and you want it in a steel that Hogue doesn't offer. So you hit up a custom, let's start out. You decide you're gonna make it on your own. Okay, you're like, it can't be that hard. I'll make the knife myself. There's two ways that you can go about this, and there's two ways that people do go about this. Most commonly, how people go about this is they buy a very affordable Harbor Freight 1x30 belt sander grinder and a few little tools, and they buy some steel and some handle materials, and they start grinding away at steel or forging steel, and their first 10 knives are unsellable crap. Trash. I mean, they're worth keeping to put on the wall because you're proud that you made them, but they're not sellable. They're nothing close to what you envisioned. It takes a lot of skill to get the shape that you want, which is the easy part, then to get the grinds straight into the height that you want, a lot harder, to get that edge perfectly straight and to the thickness that you want, again, harder, get your plunge lines even, and then to get your heat treat to the point where it all works properly. This is a very difficult thing to do, and if by your 10th knife you have anything that looks like what you wanted it to look like when you started, you are a very skilled person. Most people that go this way will make 100 knives before their knife looks like anything other than crap. And then after they've made like a few hundred knives, they go to route number 2, which is the better way to go. You decide that you want to start making knives, so you buy a $2,000 grinder, I think a $1,500 heat treat oven. You buy a bandsaw, or maybe you even go all the way with plasma or water jet CNC. People can do that now. It's a little expensive. You get a room together, you put a bench together, you get about $5,000 to $10,000 easy invested in making knives. You start grinding out knives, and again, your first 10 knives look like absolute trash, but those 10 knives, you make them in about 1/10 or 1/20th the amount of time. They look better than they would otherwise, and you start making progress. And now you're starting to kind of figure things out, but now you got to start going on forums and on YouTube, and you got to learn. There's a lot of things that you can't just shoot from the hip and figure out. You got to start learning about this. You want to get good. You're into it now, right? Let's say you have 150 knives made, sold to friends, given away, but still your goal is to get that one knife that's just right, okay? That has the fit and finish of this Hogue. You want to have a knife that has fit and finish as good as a production knife, not a custom, a production knife. If you hit 150 knives, by the way, you're lucky. 150 knives, you have it done. All right, now you've got all this time invested, all this effort. Someone's like, hey, can you make me one of those? I like what you did. Okay, yeah, I can make you one, man, for sure, of course. Well, you know, how about I give you $50? So what you offer there, by the way, this production knife, I believe is $180, so it's a lot more than $50. But what you offered him is you basically just said, hey, why don't you buy all of the materials to make this knife and spend 5 to 10 hours making it and give it to me for free. Let's say you offer them $200 to make the same knife that you just made for yourself. Now you're saying, hey man, I'll pay for your material cost, and how about like $5 an hour for your hard and extremely skilled labor that you have thousands invested in? What? That's not very cool. No, dude, screw you. My time's worth something to me. So, okay, fine, whatever. But the other thing you gotta consider is that if you can make a knife that is that nice, a lot of people are gonna want it, right? So now you've got a waiting list of, let's say, 10 people who want this knife from you, and they're willing to pay the $300 to $350 that it's worth for a new knife maker that can do excellent quality, do this in CPM 3V or even just 1095, whatever, $350, 20 people are in line. And you're like, man, I got to get to work. I'm making some money, right? So you're just grinding. And then this dude is like, hey man, why do you charge so much for that? Why don't you just give me a bro deal and sell it to me for $100? I know you only got $50 in the materials. You're making $50, man. Well, you're like, man, people are in the line to pay $300 or $350 for this. Are you freaking kidding me? So, making a knife, all right, people think of Buck as a premium brand, okay? Buck knives. Let's, for instance, let's get this little guy, a little Packlight Skinner from Walmart here. People think that Buck are premium knives, and they see this knife at Walmart for $20. And they think someone took this piece of metal, cut out this shape in about 10 minutes, ground that out real quick, and they've probably got about, so a custom maker probably got about an hour in this thing. You could sell it for next to nothing. It's just a little bit of time after all. They don't realize is that now, of course, Buck stamps 1 million of these out at a time, grinds them like crazy, heat treats 1 million of them. That's not what we're talking about. That's why they can get the prices so low. But how you make a knife, first you cut out all of your details by hand, or you get them water jetted. Really doesn't matter because it's the most unimportant part of the entire process. You cut it out. You are grinding this, and you have to get your grinds perfect all the way, exactly how you want, exactly down the center, the right thickness, good plunge lines, etc. You're not done there. A really fast grinder, if you are the man, okay, you could grind this knife out, the primary bevel here, in not very much time. I mean, like 5 minutes. The average person or the average knife maker that's going slow and wants to really get it right, just for these primary bevels, I would guess that they're going to take 20 minutes. But you're not done yet. Now you got heat treat this knife. If you're heat treating on your own, you're looking at about 4 hours to 8 hours to 10 hours. Hopefully you're doing a few knives at a time. All right, this knife is $20, by the way, from Walmart. Now you're still not done. You just got out of the heat treat oven, but you have no edge. You don't grind this edge in your initial grind. You don't put on this micro bevel. Now you have to go back to the grinder with your hardened steel, and you have to put on this micro bevel, okay? And you have to get it perfectly straight and really sharp. You have to do a really good job on this micro bevel. You have to start out with a really good grind, and then you have to do a really good job to get a nice edge on it, okay? So now you have a usable knife, but wait, there's more. You want this coating? Well, now you're gonna have to do something else. You want a handle, you gotta do something else. You want a sheath? Guess what? These don't just get pooped out of the magic sheath tree. Something's gotta be made with that. You have a lot of time invested in every single knife, and people's idea of value has been entirely separated from true value. If you've never made anything before in your life, when you go to the store and you see this for sale for $20, which is a marvel of capitalism and industrialism, you think, man, I could get this custom for what, $40? Twice as much? You have no idea what it takes to sell this knife for $20. It's freaking amazing. It is a good knife. Buck is not a premium brand, guys. They do have some premium production. They do have some really good production offerings. Really, really good. And I'm not saying they're crappy. Okay, not at all. But they're not a premium brand. They're just not. They are probably the best thing that you see at Walmart, which is not very good. It's the best. I mean, whatever. Whether you get what I am saying or not, most people probably haven't even watched to this point, so I don't care. But the prices that you see on Buck, K-Bar, Essie, Hogue, whatever, these production companies, Ontario, they're amazing. If once you get involved with knife making, make yourself a knife, become involved with this process, absolutely freaking amazing. So, if you're not a knife person and you just want performance and you can get something like you want that's made from a good quality manufacturing company, there's no reason to go beyond that. I put your level of diminishing returns, I put the pinnacle of that level at 3 companies. Essie, Hogue, and White River Knives. Each of these companies, they offer a little bit different price range, a little bit different level of options and steel options, and the market's always evolving. So, you know, in a few years, Essie might be 100% different, offer some crazy stuff, but regardless, these 3 companies, what they offer for the money is absolutely freaking incredible. And in my opinion, which, you know, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. My opinion, right behind them for American manufacturing in bang for buck is K-Bar and Ontario for some of their models. So when you spend more money than a White River Knives or a Hogue, now Essie's more affordable than White River Knives or Hogue, but as a general rule, they don't offer the premium materials or some of the cool options that White River Knives and Hogue offer. So again, I'm putting them at the exact same level of value per dollar, but they are a different price. But when you go over the price of Hogue and Essie, you start paying for more specific things that you want, and not all of your money is just purely going to performance. If you want something like an Essie Hungless 2, which is 1095 high carbon steel, which is a great steel. It's not the toughest steel, it's not the easiest to sharpen steel, it's not stainless at all, but it's an excellent balance of a steel. But let's say you want CPM 3V. It's tougher, a little bit harder to sharpen, and almost stainless. Almost your ideal survival steel. And you want something the size of an Essie Hungless 2, instead of paying $180, you're going to be paying $300, $400. Now you want that same knife, or a Essie Hungless, you want that same knife, but you want it with your handle options, or you want from a custom maker. You're really doing well to find a good quality maker who will sell it to you for $500, $600, $700. And again, the value doesn't come from specifically from the time that they put into the knife, because Jim Bob can spend 1,000 hours on a knife and it still looks like donkey trash and it sucks. Okay? But when you have a good maker, people want their knives, they're booking them as fast as they can, you know, as fast as they can make them, they can sell them. They sell faster than they can make them, so they have waiting lists, all right? Their skill is valuable, and the longer that you're using that valuable skill, the more expensive it is. Therefore, your custom knife is going to be very expensive. The upside of that is you can potentially get whatever you want. So maybe the Essie Hungless 2 and the Essie Hungless are absolutely phenomenal, but you want a clip point and you want a choil and you want your choice of steel, and you want your choice of handle color, and you don't want bolts, you want Corby bolts, so the scales will not be removable but will be absolutely bomb-proof, well, you can have it. You got to pay for it though. Crap doesn't just grow on trees. You can't do it yourself, and if you want to do it yourself, plan on spending $15,000 on your knife, thousands of hours, repeated heartbreak at the disappointment in yourself for not being able to make something as good as you want over and over and over and over and over again. And guys, most knife makers are starving artists. They're not selling their knives for enough money. They can't make them fast enough. They're not making a lot of money. Because the other thing is, if it's their sole gig, they're not just making you a knife and making enough money to make another knife. They've got to pay for their house, their electric, their upkeep of all of their equipment, materials, supplies, food for their family, cars, insurance, all this crap, right? They got to live just like you live. How are they going to make that money if you're just paying double their materials for them to spend 10 hours of labor on your custom knife? So, hopefully this is at least helps you start to understand why custom knives are expensive. And you don't have to think that you need to buy a custom knife. This video is not, I'm not designing this video to say that if you want a good knife, you have to buy a custom. This Mora right here, Mora Cans Bowl. Man, I think that this knife is 30 bucks. Might be $25. It's an excellent knife, guys. It really, by anybody's standards, nobody on the planet, not the most expensive knife maker on the planet, not the most skilled knife maker on the planet, is going to use a Mora for what they need to use it for and say, man, this thing's a piece of crap. It's a great knife. However, so if that's what you need, that's what you get, right? But the more performance you want and the more finicky that you want to be and the more you can't settle for something on the production market, the more you actually like knives, the more custom starts to make sense. Guys, I'll tell you that I have a lot of custom knives and I have been repeatedly disappointed in custom makers. I can't tell you before I got my first custom knife, I can't tell you how excited I was. It was crap. I paid too much for it. The dude ended up being some meth head. I was lucky that I got my knife because he had a cool style, but most of the people put orders with him. He just disappeared. He changed the name of his company over and over and over again and kept conning people. And that wasn't the only time. You know, I'll get a custom knife and you look down the edge and it's not straight. The edge is thick. The handle is super uncomfortable even before you start using it. All these things can happen. These are, you know, custom knife makers are just people. And so if you're not getting, and the worst is my friends that have gotten custom knives at gun shows and stuff like that. And they're so excited. And I never want to make anybody feel bad about their purchase, but they'll be like, man, look at this knife that I got. And, you know, I only paid 150 bucks for it. And it's got this cool handle. And I'm looking at it and handles are cracked. And there's big gaps between the spine and the handles. And the handles aren't even at the top. And the grinds, terrible, terrible. So don't think the knife is better because it's custom. Don't go find the cheapest custom knife maker that you can find. I am telling you, getting a custom knife is not the time or place to save a couple bucks. If you want to save a couple bucks, get a production knife from a good, reputable company and you'll know what you're getting and they'll stand behind it. If you want a custom, find the custom maker that you love. Don't buy any cigarettes or booze for a month and a half. Make your own lunch. Don't be buying lunch and dinner every day. Make your own lunch and dinner, and then go buy that custom knife that you really want from that maker that you really like, because you're helping put food on his table. You are telling him that his style that caught your eye, his attention to detail, and the quality of his product is in demand. And you're making all of this possible for someone. You're making this dream living, which is a very difficult living to make, possible for somebody else. Don't find a picture of that knife that you're dreaming about and send it to douchey McFly over here who says he can make it for 150 bucks. If you have any taste when you get the knife, you'll be disappointed. It won't be what you want. The heat treat probably won't be right, and it's just not good. So wrap this video up. That's why knives are so expensive, custom knives. And to get a production knife at the price of an Essie, a K-Bar, an Ontario, a Hogue, a White River Knives is amazing. Once you know what it's like to make a knife, it's amazing. So you can't use that to base your value on what you think it takes to make a knife. Trust me. It was even shocking for me as I went through the process. And now I'm having my own knives made. Exodus Knife and Tool. I'm on my 3rd knife brand. I know what it's like to fail in the knife world. It's a hard and very competitive world to be in. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Pretty sure nobody has watched this far, but I thought it would be good. I mean, we all know someone who doesn't appreciate the cost of skilled labor. Send them this video. They'll probably only watch 3.5 minutes of it because they have the attention span of a gnat and the intelligence of a turd. But at least you can try, and you can take them to the water. You can't force them to drink and all that stuff. Anyways, I'll talk to you in the comment section below, and I hope that you have a blessed day.